So President Biden has gone to Kyiv, and I want to talk about this because this is a really important event. Now, three predecessors of Biden's have gone into war zones in either Iraq or Afghanistan. So both George Bush and Trump and Obama have all made those kind of treks, but the U.S. held that ground. This is a little bit different that there are not American soldiers in Ukraine. He has to be protected more by Ukrainian forces. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't AWACS in the air. There are, but this is a different circumstance. Now, what's interesting is the timing. Boris Johnson was the first major leader on the ground in Kyiv after the invasion. I think it was April 9th that Boris Johnson was there. And I remember thinking at the time, that should have been Biden, right? Boris Johnson was the leader of the Western world coming to Ukraine's aid at the time. Now, Biden announced that he was going to be visiting Poland just before the anniversary, and I remember thinking, it would be great if you'd just be in Kyiv. Like, that would be so powerful, so symbolic, and this is what he did. Now, the timing, it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment kind of thing. They worked at this for some time, trying to think through the logistics of it, trying to think through, like, how it was going to be orchestrating things. So, President or Vice President Harris's remarks the other day were part of this deal, as I understand from reading multiple reports of what she was going to say and what he was going to say and when he was going to get there. So it's all been in the works, and this is a big security operation. So he flew to Poland, took a train into Kyiv. That's how other leaders have gotten there as well. They alerted the Russians just a few hours before he was on his way in. And I don't know what the conversation was, but I'm pretty sure it was a pretty strong statement of, you better not do stuff. And again, like, there are AWACS up in the air over Ukrainian airspace. So this is a big deal. Now, why does this matter? So after the balloon event in early February, I talked on February 7th about credibility. Credibility matters. If the President of the United States is saying something, it has to hold weight. And he has to, if he's going to say he's going to do something, he has to do it. And this, I think, rivals the $40 billion just physically showing up in Kyiv. Now, $40 billion is nothing to turn your nose at, but just showing up in Kyiv and standing along side by side with Zelensky on his home soil, that rivals that as far as how powerful a statement it could be. Now, this statement is going to three different audiences. It's saying something profound to Ukrainians. We are with you. We are with you to the degree that our president is here in the middle of what is truly a war zone. I mean, there could be missiles coming in. I don't think the Russians are going to get so antsy and want to do that while the president is there. That would be very, very bad. I'm sure that they have been severely warned. So it's sending a very powerful message to the Ukrainians. It's also sending a very powerful message to Western allies. Now, remember this, that the U.S. is the de facto head, as far as credibility goes, of NATO. They're the biggest supplier, both financially and with weapons, and they are effectively the leader of NATO. And so when Biden is making that visit, I don't mean Blinken, I mean the President of the United States is making that visit, that is going to send a resounding message. Now, there were some Republicans saying, hey, he should have been over here in Ohio caring about the train wreck that happened on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. They're missing the point. The train wreck on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania is not potentially going to kick off World War III, where what's going on in Ukraine could, if we don't play it very carefully. So there's a very clear message to the Ukrainians, a very clear message to Western allies, and there's another message to the Russians. We really do support the Ukrainians, and that's a really interesting thing. So for the Russians, this is good and bad. It's good in one sense, and it's bad in another. It's bad because it's rallying the allies, it's sending a message to the Ukrainians, stiffening their spine, but it's good because just before Putin's speech, it allows the Russians to have a massive talking point. Now, you remember, so it's good for propaganda. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, you remember when this started a year ago, it was a special military operation. Nothing to see here. It's not a big deal. You can even go to jail for calling it a war. But now it's being reframed as an existential fight. It's something that it's, they're attacking. See, all of NATO is a raid against us, and we have to stand up against these Western powers who are bullying, and it's going to be played that way. Now, it would have been played that way anyway, regardless of whatever Biden did or did not do, so you might as well do it. For what Biden did, I think it's awesome. I think it's the right thing at the right time. What he's done is effectively, think about a big chessboard, a geopolitical chessboard. He just moved a queen all the way over to the other territory, threatening their pieces. And I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm glad he did it. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.